Hello, everyone, and welcome to this section where we'll show us step by step how to code a website homepage from scratch on Visual Studio Code, which I told us to download yesterday on the group. All right, so step one, we're going to take it in steps so that when you're watching this video, you're going to just follow the steps, okay? Yes. So the first step is to create a folder. All right. You already know how to create a folder by going to desktop, either going to desktop and right clicking on desk, right clicking inside the desktop, and then you see new and all that. You right click inside desktop, you see new and all that. You already know how to create folder, I believe. Okay. But then let me not assume. Let me just show you. You can go to desktop, navigate to desktop by the left hand side, and then now you're inside desktop. You can right click and go to navigate to new, navigate to folder. Once you do folder, you create the folder, right? If you want the folder to be in your desktop, or you want it to be in your downloads, or you want it to be in your documents, it is the same process. Okay, good. So let's go back. So after creating your folder, now taking back to that place where the HTML and CSS is. Let's forget. Let's stop. Okay. So after creating your folder, which is this, I named mine HTML and CSS. You can name yours whatever. Okay, double click inside the folder and right click and navigate to open with code. When you do this folder is going to open in Visual Studio Code. So whilst we wait for this to open, let's go back to this folder we created and create subfolders inside. Okay, one of the subfolders you create will be image folder. All right, you can name it, you can give it a short form img. Okay, another folder you create is, okay, for now let this be the only folder for now, because I want to make the video as short as possible. All right, so having created this image folder, copy one of the images from the desktop that you will be using, or all the images you will be using inside the particular website you want to create. Recall that a website is a collection of what? Images, audio, what else? Text, right? Images, audio, text, and videos. That's basically what the website is, a collection of all these items. And in, in programming terms, the collection of all this is actually called assets. Okay, so what we are doing is actually creating an assets folder, right? Yes. So I just came to copy the image I'll be using. Okay, the image I'll be using in my assets folder. Alright, so image I'll be using my assets folder. So I'll paste that image here. Good. Now let's check the, you can always rename your images. Okay, so that I can name this background BG image, background image, right? Good. So I'll go back to my Visual Studio Code that I earlier opened from that folder. Alright, good. This is it. This is the folder. Good. So now we'll navigate to the side of this folder, or just tap this arrow, and all these icons are going to show up by the right hand side. If you hover on the icons, you're going to see a drop down with what the icons represent. So this is a folder, new folder, precisely. This is new file. So we're going to do index.html. So one of the new files. And then we are going to also create another file. Note that there are folders and there are files. Also note that there are subfolders. Okay, so this img is a subfolder of html and css folder, while index.html is a file of the folder html and css. Okay, yeah. So as much as possible, you have to be familiar with the terminologies involved in html markups. Good. Now we've created index.html. We also have to create style.html. It is worthy of note that HTML is the markup language for creating layouts and content of websites or web pages. A website is a collection of web pages, right? We'll try to drop a PDF, a summary PDF on all this that would guide us whilst we're watching this video as well. While CSS is a markup language for presentation and appearance of your web page. So both of them work together. While this is for creating the content and the layout, this is for giving that content appearance and also helping in presenting that content beautifully. Okay, I say it again. HTML is for creating layouts of web pages and structure or content. Layout, let's just say layout, structure, and content of web pages, while CSS is for presentation and appearance of these web pages. Good. So when you've created your index and see that folder, image folder we created, right? It came in together with the HTML because we already created it from the folder section. Good. So what do we do on line one? First line of code is to declare your doc type. And to declare your doc type, what do you do? Now I need to say this. The full meaning of HTML is hypertext markup language. Note that it's a markup language. And what is markup? Markup is, or markup can be defined as special elements such as characters. Example of characters are numbers and alphabets or letters. Okay, so in a nutshell, special elements are characters which could either be numbers, letters, symbols that are used in doing what? Creating this layout, structure, and content of web pages. Does that make sense? Good. Such that instead of writing the text there, what do? You encode the text in markups. Good. So instead of just typing doc type on my line one, I would encode doc type in angle brackets. So first thing first, press your shift and your angle brackets. Okay, and something like this is going to show up. And because we've downloaded some extensions that enable us with IntelliSense function, okay, that's why when you did angle bracket, the next thing that came out was doc type. So the IntelliSense function is an extension of your Visual Studio Code, right? Yes. So it came out with doc type. So this is the first syntax that shows on your HTML, doc type HTML. This tells your browser that the document or the web page you're going to be coding on or programming is HTML. Okay, right? Or the language you're going to be engaging is HTML, such that if you're going to be doing PHP, it's the same thing that's going to show up. So this doc type means document type, okay, for line one, and this is the syntax, correct syntax. Line two, you declare your HTML, then you close it. Once you close it, this is called the closing tag. A closing tag is represented with a forward slash before the letters. So this is the correct syntax for declaring closing tags, and this is the correct syntax for declaring opening tags, right? And note that these tags were declared horizontally because you can declare tags horizontally or vertically. So the next line of code will declare head, the next line of code, and it has to follow this format. We declare body, next line of code, we declare footer, we declare footer. So this is the first thing you do, or the first five elements you have to declare. Beautiful. Now notice that the default mode is horizontally, but then there's what's called nesting. Okay, in nesting you have two items, your parent element and your child element. As time goes on, we're going to use more of these terms. So but for now, I'm going to show us how to nest these five or four elements and one empty element, because an empty element is a tag without a closing tag. Okay, and most times empty elements are represented with a forward slash at the end. Okay, yeah. So for this doc type, you don't use a forward slash, but for image empty element, horizontal line, H arrow empty element, B arrow empty element, you use forward slash at the end of the words. Okay. Now let's nest. So HTML, you copy the end tag for line 2 and you paste in line 6. Same thing with line 3, copy the head, copy the head closing tag. Okay, and paste. Same thing with body, copy the body closing tag and paste. Watch how we nest them, very important. Observe how we nest them. Good. Notice how we nested them, that line 2 and line 10 are the same line. So we can say invariably that the head, the body, and the footer are child elements of the container or the parent element HTML. I'll take that again. We can invariably say that the head, body, and the footer elements are child elements of the container or the parent element HTML. Does that make sense? Yes, it does. And we can also say that the footer element is a child element of the container or the parent element body. So that's why if you notice, both lines of code follow this format. Okay, so let's quickly go into the crux of the matter. So I'll quickly do this, but then we're going to, like I said, drop materials that will guide us. So the head, inside the head element, you're going to declare your link. You're going to declare your link empty elements. Yeah, let's not forget an element is a combination of the start tag and the closing tag, or the start tag and the end tag, or the opening tag and the closing tag. Yes. So you declare your link and then the attributes rel, which means relationship, and then you declare style sheet, and the same thing you do attributes hyperreference, and then you declare enter the folder dot this image and just declare and just click enter and all that. It's going to show you this BG. Now why are we doing, or can I explain this line 4 quickly? That the link is used to link your the link element, the link empty element is used to link your your CSS file, right? So I made a mistake there. It was supposed to be enter the folder dot forward slash means enter the folder style.css. Please use to link your CSS good. Such that anything that you declare here will have effect here. So let's quickly move to the next line of code inside body. So body tag is the visible part of your web page. Okay, inside your body element, which is this, anything you type there will be visible. So now let's say I want to include a text, Obi is a boy. I can just write Obi is a boy like this and then view it on my local server by right clicking and going to open with live server, and Obi is a boy is going to show. But then this is not best practice, because any text in your HTML has a corresponding tag and element. Okay, so what's the right way to declare or to encode Obi is a boy is to declare the P element, which is the paragraph element, and you do Obi is a boy, right? This is it. This is the correct syntax. Good. So let's say we want to give this body now. This is our web page. Remember, we are creating a simple web page. Let's say we want to give this our web page a black background. Okay. What do we do? It's simple. You just go to your style sheet, which is responsible for appearance and presentation. That's how the web page looks. You just declare body, since we're going to be working inside the body, and then you open curly bracelets, and then you click enter, place your cursor in between them, and you're going to have something like this. And since we are considering a background color, we're going to type background color. See, the IntelliSense makes it easier for us. So once we just type back, it gives us a lot of options to choose from. So we click enter background color. Let's give it black. Now, because we have linked style.css to index on line 4, what is going to happen? Our background is going to be black like this. Good. And you see that Obi is a boy is not even visible. Okay, but if we want to make Obi is a boy to be visible, what do we do? Seeing that we have encoded Obi is a boy in the P element, okay, we can simply do what? Declare the P element the same way we declared body. Open your curly bracelet, and then we are going to give P a color. Okay, we're going to give P a color white, white. Okay, good. So if we now check our web page, you see that Obi is a boy has changed to color white. Good, it makes sense. So there's another way. By introducing a class attribute, you can still give Obi is a boy a color, but I won't go there. So in our next class or subsequent classes, we would explore that option. Now let's bring in an image into the body. Remember, we are still building our web page. So remember, I also said, recall that everything you want to do on your web page has a corresponding tag and element. So the corresponding element for showing an image or displaying an image on your web page is the word ing empty element. So when you declare the ing empty element like this, you introduce an attribute called source sroc, which is going to bring in your image. So you enter the folder dot forward slash ing, and then let's say you go to we saved that image we want to use as bg image. So this is it. Now check your web page, you're going to see an image. Can you see this? So we are gradually bringing in text, which is Obize boy, and images, which is this. We can bring in videos, audios, just like that, okay, into your web page. Good. So we are going to stop here for now for the sake of time. And maybe in our next class, we're going to take us through the process of creating layouts, or we're going to move forward either of them. So thank you. See you in the next class. If you have any questions, drop it in the group and we'll send supporting documents too. Thank you.